All right, so welcome. For this video, we're going to talk about the promotion playbook and this section in the promotion playbook that gives you a format on how to tell a good story. In order to succeed at oral boards and several other parts of your assessment center, you've got to be able to tell a really good story. And so I'm going to give you some resources and then show you the tool that's within the book that'll help you to show up and be able to present these stories that will then in turn help you to earn that position. And then in that position, I mentioned the importance of story. That story is part of the promotion playbook. So promotion playbook consists of a story. It has 7 strategies, and then there's 4 basic skills. So story, strategy, and skills throughout the process of this book, your goal is to develop all 3 of those. Your stories dictate your worldview and your beliefs. Your strategies is the mindset. And then your skills is the practical hands-on skills. Don't overlook all 3 of these are critical towards your success. So I'm going to minimize. I'm going to share my screen. Real quick, want to give a shout out to the 11 Summits, hashtag 11 Summits or 11summits.com. It's a great fundraising event. Really long hike I'm going to be doing this weekend. And so if you want to check it out, right now it's 2020 and we're doing the event this coming up weekend in October, but there's going to be likely this event's going to continue to grow over time. 11 different summits in Arizona in 48 hours, really long hike, really great cause. So check it out. I'm going to share my screen. So being able to tell a really good story is an essential piece of doing well in an assessment center. So understand your ability to tell a story is critically important to not just an assessment center, but being able to perform in the job. There's so many different areas that being able to tell a good story matter. So here's my screen. I'm going to share the desktop and then I'll be up in the corner. And first off is this concept of the hero's journey. So I'm going to get to the promotion playbook in just a minute, but I wanted to tell you where some of these ideas came from. So Joseph Campbell, if you look up, he came up with this concept called the hero's journey, and it's a really great format that almost every story follows. And so you can look up story structure or the hero's journey if you want to dive into this more to really understand that there's, according to Joseph Campbell, there is basically, I think there's only like one narrative that plays out through humanity. And if you look at all the different cultures and civilizations and stories that exist over time, they all follow this certain pattern, and there's a certain structure to these stories. The other great resource I'm going to share with you is this book called The Hero's Two Journeys. You can find it on Audible, or if you go to Amazon, and it's an audiobook. You might be able to buy the hard book, but the one I have is audio. I think the whole thing's audio actually, but it's really great. It's these 2 Hollywood screenwriters, and they tell you the importance of how to structure your story so that it works. And if it works for Hollywood, it's going to work for your oral board. So this is a really great resource. One other resource I want to share with you is this little drawing here is from this book. It's called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. That's a really great book also, if you want to check that out. So the concept here during this part of the promotion playbook is you have to understand, in order to succeed in these assessments, you've got to have this skill set of being able to present yourself well, because you could be the greatest firefighter in the world, but if you cannot present that to the evaluators, you're not going to score very well. So these 3 resources you can check out is you can Google the hero's journey. There's a lot of books around this concept, and Joseph Campbell would be the name that goes with that. You can look up the hero's 2 journeys, which is kind of a spin on Joseph Campbell's theme. Really great audiobook you can get on Amazon or on Audible. And then finally, this drawing is from the book Expert Secrets. So 3 great resources. Now, to narrow that focus, here's the promotion playbook. And this part of the book is what I call the game day toolkit. And so the first section is the story. And then throughout the story is interwoven the 7 strategies. And then the game day toolkit is all the practical tools that you may need for the job. And then real quick, the 4 skills that you need are, you need study skills, you need speaking skills, you need writing skills, and then you need the application skills. So application is where there can be some variation depending on the position that you're testing for. And that has to do with a lot of other things that don't fit under study, speak, write. So study, speak, write, and apply are the 4 categories of skills that if you look at any assessment center, you can categorize what you're going to be tested on in one of these 4 categories. And if it doesn't fit anything else, put it under application skills as a practical application skill that you would need to use. So going down under the writing piece of it, page 232 currently, that might change a little bit because I'm going through a final update and an edit, but here's the writing skills. And I put the story under writing skills. It is a speaking skill and a writing skill, but my suggestion is that you start by writing out your stories. And then once they're written out and you have the structure, then you rehearse it, you rehearse doing it. It's almost like you're auditioning for a part. And before you know the part, you have to come up with the screenplay and you have to write the script. So once you write your script, then you can memorize your script and then you can present it to your audience. Now, all of this is your own content. So it's authentic, it's real, it's your experience, your knowledge, what you bring to the table for the position. But it needs to be polished up and it needs to be clean and it needs to be presented in a way that resonates with the audience. And the story blueprint is here. So I call it a blueprint because it's kind of like if you're going to build a house, you got to drop the draft of what the house is going to look like. It's the same thing when you create your structure, is you have to have a structure to your story. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to know what you're talking about, and it's going to be difficult for the audience to track. So basically, there's 5 elements to the story. The first one is who. And this question, so actually I made it, there's 5 words that'll help you to remember it. So there's who, where, want, problem, resolve. And I'll explain those 5 elements. So who, I guess you would start by making a title. So before you get into those 5 elements, you make what's the title of your story. And then you start with who. So who is the character? And there's a lot that you can go into building the character. A lot of times with your stories for the position, you're going to be the main character, but it's going to be at a narrative that happened sometime in the past, or maybe somewhere that you want to be in the future. But you can also have people that you're interacting with as other characters in your story. So who's the main character? And again, if you read the Hero's 2 Journeys or listen to the audiobook, it'll tell you how to expand this. For the promotion playbook, I want you to start with the basics. So this is a super basic template designed to get you in the habit of this structure. Once you get really good at this structure, then on our website, I will likely end up adding some extra layers you can add to this so that you can expand these. But for now, get good at these 5 things, and 90% of the time, that's going to be plenty for you to create an amazing story that resonates with the audience. So who's the main character? You want to describe this character. Next, where does the story take place? So you have to get the background. So you get the character, and then you create the background and the setting that this happens in. The next part is the want. This is the desire that the character has. In all great stories is you have a character, a really great character they resonate with. You have a great setting that they're in. And then you have a desire. They have this desire that they want to accomplish, or they want to achieve, or they want to have. There's something missing, and there's something that they're seeking after. Kind of like the hero's journey. They go on this journey, they go on this quest because they're seeking after something that they want. And then they want something. And once you have something that they want, you introduce the possibility of a dynamic to happen. So there's a problem that comes up, and the problem is really what creates the emotional connection with the audience. Hopefully you can tell your story and get the audience to kind of relate to where you're at, relate to this character. and to the setting. And then you have what they want and they can understand this desire. But then the real emotional connection with the story is the conflict that occurs. All great stories have these conflicts, and from the conflict builds the emotion with the audience. So the problem, you have to have a good conflict. There has to be a good dynamic of this battle or this challenge or these obstacles that the hero or the character has to overcome. So what is the problem or conflict that keeps the character from getting what they want? And then it just says, I emphasize that, is that it creates the emotional connection. So really important to build this conflict up and to make the conflict strong. And then the resolve, and then you tie it all together with the resolve. And ideally, they end up getting it resolved. They grow both internally and externally. So I mentioned that book, The Hero's Two Journeys. They say the two journeys is one, there's an external result, like a tangible thing, well, I'll explain that in just a minute. So the last one is the resolve. So how does the story end? And then does the character get what they want? How does the character evolve in the process? And so for the promotion playbook, I'll tell you how this plays out in this book. Is you have Jake, who's the character. He's a great guy, but he's just not doing he's got a great career, great family, great social connection. He's serving his community. He's involved in the church. He works in this middle-sized fire department in this rural area. And a lot of areas his life is going really well. But what he wants is he wants to have a good, successful career. And he wants to be like his dad, who was the fire chief of that fire department in the past. And so the problem is that Jake is still at the firefighter level. He's been in the service for several years and he's tried to promote in the past, but he had this friction and he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't figure out how to get past this test. Externally, he wanted the badge. Internally, he wanted to grow and develop, and he wanted the status of the rank that would allow him to give and to grow and serve more people. And he wanted to make his family proud of him and let his family know that in his career, he made a difference. And part of him just kind of felt like he wasn't reaching his best potential, staying at the level he was, because he kept hitting the ceiling at the promotional test. So that's his problem. He kept failing these tests. Then the resolve is that he finds a mentor that helps him succeed. He ends up, hopefully you read the book already. If not, I guess I'm going to spoil the end of it, because he ends up doing really well at the very end, but it doesn't come without setbacks and adversity and challenges along the way. But not only does he get the promotion, but he grows. Hopefully I portrayed this in the writing, that he not only grew into the position, but he grew into a person that was less focused on his own success and his own status, and more focused on growing and leading and taking care of those people that he had the mentorship over. And him getting into that position of captain allowed him to take this stewardship position to give and to grow and to serve and to help develop more people to follow this path that he learned. So that's an example of how it plays out for you. There can be a lot of other things. So here's some questions I suggest, like oral board questions, that I suggest you practice writing out. And then once you write them out, you can practice doing this video. One of the best ways to get good at oral boards is to record yourself on video and then watch that. It's even better if you do it on a social media platform, because you get feedback, some good, some bad, some not at all. And but if you put yourself out there, the more people watching it, the more discomfort you might face with it. And with that comes more growth. So here's the template. So right up top, you put the title, and then it's just basically, what's really cool about how simple this format is that you can use it with your family members. You can use it with your kids, if you have kids, or just around your crew. It's kind of a fun thing to do. I've been doing it with, at the time of this recording, my youngest daughter is 7, and we've been using this format to tell stories at night. Is we'll create nighttime stories, or if we're driving in the car, we're like, hey, let's create a story. And you're like, okay, there's 5 questions here. Who's the character? And you just kind of go with the character. Next, where does the story take place? Next, what does this character want? What do they desire, or what do they want? And then the problem, they have this problem, and then how does it end? And again, there's several layers into this. If you wanted to dive into this, you can go into really you can go into the details on each of these sections, but for now, just getting the concept of doing it. And that way, when it comes to doing an oral board and they ask you one of these questions, for example, you could say like, who's a role model in your life and why? So in Jake's example, he could start off with the story. Story would be my father, the fire chief, could be Jake's story, who the character is. It could be Jake as a young boy. And he says, as a young boy, I can remember my father was always involved in community projects. He helped to lead, bring the fire department from maybe volunteer level all the way up to a professional full-time department. He served on all these different areas. And he just remembered how many people he was able to serve and support. And he is so proud of his father's career. And it took place in this town with a certain fire department. And so Jake wanted to be like his father. The problem was, maybe he wasn't able to go, didn't have the same opportunities, or maybe Jake had some type of setback in terms of not quite having the same education or experience or skill set. And he kind of struggled to figure out how to follow that path. And then the end result, maybe he could say, look, I learned that it's not about me. It's about me helping and serving and growing. And the thing that he admired the most about his father was not the rank that he held as fire chief. It was the ability that his father to love and influence and impact people, and how his father really was a positive role model for the community, and how much his father gave to that community, not because he had the rank of chief, but because he was able to serve and to give so much to the community, is why Jake really looked up to him the most. And so then you would tie that in to say why this matters now is because I strive to follow that example, and I want to get to that next level so that I can continue to give and to grow. And here's an example of all the stuff I've done already. This is what I plan to do with the future. And it models the mission statement and the vision and the values of your organization. So this ties in really well with the oral board template, which is part of the speaking skills. So if you go into the book, there's the speaking skills and there's the oral board template. So what I suggest is that as you get your stories for yourself, for the position, for the department, so yourself, the position, the department, you need to have a lot of facts, and you also need some stories for each of those going into your oral board. And when you create these stories, I suggest that you put them into this format because it helps to have good structure. You don't want to just go in to the oral board and just start randomly talking and just dump a bunch of stuff out. This is nice because if you notice with each of these questions, it also has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it gives us this clean, concise story. And if done well, you're going to emotionally connect with the people, with the oral board evaluators. Or if it's a presentation, your audience will be able to connect with this story emotionally. And then from there, you can sprinkle in the seeds of logic and data that back it. And if you can create both a logical case for your promotion and an emotional case, that's the best way to present yourself. Thanks for watching, and you can find out more. So please subscribe to this channel if you're watching it on whatever format you're at. If the opportunity to subscribe is there, if you're on the website already and it's there, please continue to watch. And if the option to like or share or comment, whatever it is for this format, the plan is ultimately to have it on the promotionplaybook.com and have them all available there. In the meantime, I'll be sharing a lot of these videos on YouTube and Facebook. So whatever format you see this, I'd appreciate any feedback, comments, and to share it. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.